Hey everybody, it's GombletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Wilds of Eldraine. Without further ado, let's get into the draft. Very weak pack 1 overall. There's nothing that really stands out to me a ton, so I think we'll probably just go with the Elusive Otter as the rare. The Grove's Bounty Adventure on this card is pretty solid, being able to put a bunch of counters across your board, and then you can also get the creature half of this later. Get a nice little 2-for-1 there. Could just take the Two-Headed Hunter, which is a fine card for any red deck, giving you a little combat trick and a big creature at the top end. Or the Ariet's Tempting Apple, which is fine in any aggressive deck, just putting a bunch of damage on the board real quick, stealing your opponent's best blocker, hitting them with it, and also shooting another 3 at your opponent. I don't know, it's like Otter or Two-Headed Hunter or Apple. Certainly not a very exciting place to start no matter what. I'll actually go with the Apple now that I think of it. Just take those completely colorless cards so we can fit it into our deck no matter our colors as long as we are aggressive. For pack 1, pick 2, now we have a Hopeful Vigil, one of the best white commons. It just synergizes well with Bargain and Celebration and many of the mechanics in the format. That is definitely my favorite common in the pack, but there is a pretty solid rare and a solid uncommon. The rare is Ingenious Prodigy, 1 blue and X for an XX that you can remove a counter from every turn to draw a card. So a very big card draw engine. Really, really nice if you can get a young hero roll onto it. That'll make it so every time it attacks, it gets a +1/+1 counter. So you just never run out of those counters. You never run out of that card draw. Pretty wild. I think it'd be super reasonable to take Ingenious Prodigy, but honestly, Hopeful Vigil is so good. I don't think it's that unreasonable to take Vigil over Prodigy here. And Glass Casket would be the other option that's pretty good, but I'm going to go for the Prodigy. For pack 1, pick 3, now we have very solid removal with Cooped Up. We've got Charade, which is very nice. Just very good value. You don't really want to build around Charade. A lot of the other tapper kind of cards just didn't pan out to be very powerful, but Charade all by herself is very good value. So Charade's pretty reasonable, Cooped Up is pretty good, or we could just take the Belligerent the Ball, kind of aggressive card there. I think I'll go for the Charade here. And for pack 1, pick 4, we don't really see anything in really the pack as a whole. I was going to say nothing great in green, nothing great in red, but there's really just nothing great all around. Probably just take an Evolving Wilds here so we can get some splashing going on if we don't end up in a very streamlined 2-color aggro deck, because there's a lot of good ways to splash in the format, and Evolving Wilds can certainly help do that. For pack 1, pick 5, there's a Hamlet Glutton pick 5. This is my favorite card that I've seen in the last several packs, although Prodigy and Charade are probably stronger. But I think Hamlet Glutton is very, very good and the best card in this pack. For pick 6 now, Hollow Scavenger works excellently with a Hamlet Glutton, giving us that bargain fodder to sacrifice to cast the Glutton a little cheaper. It's also a Cooped Up. So Hollow Scavenger or Cooped Up, I think, are the best cards here. Monstrous Rage, though, is also really good. Just a very aggressive combat trick that can get a lot of extra damage in. So the big combat trick, the pacifism removal spell, or a second very solid green creature to go with our incredible top-end green creature. I think I'm going to start doubling up here. I'm going to double up onto green with Hollow Scavenger. Pick 7 has very little. There's just a Crystal Grotto or Scarecrow guide for fixing around. Splashy Spellcaster's fine, but pretty slow. Not a great body by itself. Grab a Crystal Grotto here. Pick 8, still a Curse of the Werefox in here. If we end up in green, that will be decent removal. That is about it. Pick 9 now. The Two-Headed Hunter came all the way back. I feel like this pack was really weak overall. So it was one of the better cards. Do I just take that here or take the Brave the Wilds? Could be just the green-based 5-color kind of strategy. Crystal Grotto, Evolving Wilds, and Brave the Wilds. Bunch of stuff like that. I think I'm going to do that. Grab the Brave the Wilds, and now it looks like we are green at the core. Splashing in a little bit of blue, a little bit of white. We could end up in green, white, splash blue, or green, blue, splash white. And either would be fine. I think that looks pretty reasonable. We're not looking like we're going to be very aggressive at all. So I think I would prefer the kind of setup card draw of the Candy Trail for the early turns. But also this Tempting Apple does not look like it is going to pan out. Because we're going to be much more late game mid-rangey than aggro-y. Could take a second apple just in case I try to find some Knight of Sweet's Revenge and start turning all my foods into mana rocks, which is cute. But I think I just speculate on Red Cap Thief. Because this will go well into our deck if we end up in like green-red, because it's another card that helps us splash in nonsense, which definitely looks like what we're doing. We're just splashing in nonsense for the most part. Alright, pack 2, pick 1, what have we here? Got an Up the Beanstalk. Very, very solid build around. Draws you a card right when you play it no matter what. And when you start playing additional cards like Hamlet Gluttons and stuff, you get to start drawing extra cards, which is great. I think I'm just taking Up the Beanstalk. Stopgap is fine. Light Blades is fine. But I don't think either are good enough to go for the non-green card, as green is the main color right now. Blue and white are the potential secondaries. Let's grab our Up the Beanstalk. Nothing great in blue or white. No green card at all, basically. And just an apple for colorless. This is just a really good black pack. There's a Candy Grapple for removal. High Fae Negotiator for a really good finisher. And Lord Skitter's Butcher for flexibility. We are not going to be having a lot of great removal spells if we end up in like green-blue, and just in green in general. So I kind of want to just take Candy Grapple here. It's much easier to splash that in than High Fae Negotiator. And I don't know that we're going to end up like pivoting full-on to green-black here. Like green-black splash blue or something instead. So we'll take the more splashable card that's still very good. This pack is pretty empty. Best cards are red, an Edgewall pack, and a cut-in. Guess we did get a late Spear Guard, Red Cap Thief. I am not going to be very interested in playing Toadstool Admirer, Season of Growth, Solitary Sanctuary, Charm Clothier, Frostbridge Guard, or Freeze in Place. So I guess we might as well speculate red here. Grab the cut-in. Yeah, even if we're not that aggressive, this can still blow up a creature and then give us bargain fodder for Glutton if we have our own creature on board, even if it isn't getting much bigger with the Young Hero roll. Alright, very happy to take a Root Rider Fawn here. Ramps us into that Glutton and fixes us for anything with the filtering ability. Knight of the Sweet's Revenge. Again, fun potential build around. We do have the apple and the Candy Trail and a Scavenger, but that's still pretty low on food for it. What is this? Whenever a creature is dealt damage, repercussion deals that much to the creature's controller. Weird card. Okay. Could just grab a second cut in here. 1 card deep into white, 2 cards deep into blue right now. 3 cards deep into red. Yeah. Grab another cut-in. Cut-in much, much better the more aggressive you are, because that Young Hero roll gives you so much extra value, getting extra damage in. But we're in just a weird draft all around here, where just the very medium removal spell is fine for us. Think. And we can just take a bunch of Ginger Brutes so that we have something great to put the Young Hero roll onto. Because here's again nothing great for the green, blue, white pile. So I suppose Ginger Brute it is. Now we've got to torch the tower, pick 7. Yeah, really feels like we're supposed to be in red. Hearth Elemental is also really nice. You ideally want this to be the last card in your hand, and then all of a sudden you discard your nothing to draw 2, and also play a 4/5 later, which is really, really, really spicy. But I still think I take Torch the Tower over that. Belligerent of the Ball here. Now that I have Torch the Tower double cut in, I'm certainly not looking for another Curse of the Werefox. So it's a Brave the Wilds, a Merry Bards, or a Crystal Grotto. I think I'll grab another Brave the Wilds. Definitely grab another Red Cap Thief. Get that Edgewall pack, because nobody's drafting red in pack 2. None of these are going to be great, even if we do end up with white as a core color somehow. Like that green-white splash blue we were talking about. But I think it's too late in the draft to pivot from here. I think we're locked into green-red at the core. And I think Welcome to Sweet Tooth is the best card here, but there are a lot of really good ones. This just does a lot of stuff for the mana cost. 2 mana, get a 3/3 and a food token. Pretty nuts. I think we go with this, but we could also take a second Torch the Tower. We could also take a Rotisserie Elemental, which could draw us extra cards later by sacrificing it. We could also take a Picnic Ruiner, which puts a bunch of counters on the board, gets a potential double striker down. I think these are all great, great cards, but I think Welcome to Sweet Tooth just has a little bit of an edge just as an incredible, incredible card. Pack 3, pick 2. Still not that interested in another Curse the Werefox. Could take a Prophetic Prism. But I could also just grab the Belligerent of the Ball. Another Aggro Dork into the deck. Yeah. All our red cards are good at aggressive stuff. I think we're trying to get as much aggressive cards as we can now. Start taking the most aggressive creatures in green and red in every pack. That's going to start making cutting a lot better. Grab the Embereth Veteran here. Kind of just falling off the splash blue-white game plan, just becoming a green-red aggro deck that is now using the apple again. Ratcatcher Trainee is nice and flexible, but Picnic Ruiner I think is the pick. Get a 4-power creature on board, and then this thing's insane. And that's if you curve out with this normally. If you top deck it later in the game, you just get a bunch of counters to guarantee you have a 4-power creature on board. I think we take Picnic Ruiner over Ratcatcher for this deck. I'm going to take the Ballgast here. Now that we're getting pretty aggressive. We got 1 Hamlet Glutton. I don't need multiple Fawns at this point. We just want more like 2 mana creatures, 3 mana creatures to curve into the cut-in with. And we've got a few ways to trigger Celebration. Double Red Cap Thief and Edgeball pack. So the Ballgast could be attacking pretty heavily. Definitely Red Tooth Vanguard. We've got a couple ways to get an enchantment on the board with those 2 cut-ins. The 1 Curse of the Werefox as well. And those might randomly reanimate that. Here's another Edgewall pack to trigger Celebration and just be a great 4-drop. Could take another Torch Tower. Double cut-in, 1 Torch the Tower, 1 Curse. Feels pretty good for me for removal, and we're at 14 creatures right now. There is 1 Welcome, so that's 15, but I would like to up the quality creatures in this deck and grab the Edgewall pack. Again, we have 4 great removal spells and a Tempting Apple to get a big blocker out of the way late in the game. So I don't think we need another. Here, do I take an apple over a Flick a Coin? I don't know. These are both very comparable in power level to me. Let's go 1 of each. And we definitely cut the Candy Trail now. Cutting those lands. Cutting the Up the Beanstalk because we only got 1 5 mana or better creature at this point. Got another Picnic Ruiner. Very happy to see that. Definitely a very good color pair to be in. Mainly just great to be in red, but got the Vanguard relatively late. Got a Sweet Tooth here. We got our early Glutton. Yeah, we didn't get a ton of green cards here. Green was not the most open, but the pack 2 pivot onto red was very, very correct. By what we have seen throughout pack 2 and pack 3, that has paid off greatly. I actually like putting a Merry Bards in here. Triggers the celebration for our double belligerent to the ball, as well as giving us a young hero roll that we could attach to our Ginger Brute. So there's a couple really nice synergies for it, so I'm going to put that in at the 4-drop slot. 17 creatures and a Welcome to Sweet Tooth, basically 18 creatures. A little bit high, but I'm pretty cool with it. I don't think we need Brave the Wilds anymore. Just do this in 16 lands. We've got a Glutton, which it's technically a 5-drop, not a 7-drop, so yeah, the curve's not that high. I don't think it would be unreasonable to want to just do a 16-land aggro here. But we do have some big adventures. Our best removals like 4 mana. We do, yeah, really want to make it up to 4 mana, at least very consistently. I guess weirdly enough, it might be like cut a Root Rider Fawn for the 17th land. Right, because we're not really skipping over 3 mana. We've got plenty to do there at 3 mana. So I'm not really getting that ramp up. Just cut a Mana Source creature for a Mana Source land. Yeah, I mean, kind of how our deck looks. I think I'm just going to drop that. And you could play Evolving Wilds in a 2-color deck. Crystal Grotto, definitely less excited. I'll put the Evolving Wilds in here and just call it a deck there. Alright, here's a look at our completed deck list for today. We are on a red-green beatdown deck. A lot of just great aggressive red cards. And we did pivot onto red a couple picks into pack 2, and we still got double cut-in, flick a coin, torch to tower, double edge wall pack, double belligerent to the ball, double picnic ruiner, Embereth veteran. Red felt really, really open in this draft pod. Green, not so much. We certainly have less green going on in this deck. Just a Welcome to Sweet Tooth and a Red Tooth Vanguard for premium 2-drops, a Hollow Scavenger at 3, and the Curse the Werefox removal spell at 3 as well, and then our one of Hamlet Glutton at the top end. I just saw like a pick 5 Hamlet Glutton, got pretty excited about it, scooped that up, found some green removal going late. There were multiple Curse the Werefoxes, but I don't think we actually want both of them in here. I think we actually have one on our side. Yeah, we do. We've got like a Curse on the side. We got an Up the Beanstalk, a Root Rider Fawn, some Braves. Like there were some other green cards, but certainly green was nowhere near as open as the red was. So just, yeah, a pile of aggressive red cards and the random green stuff that we picked up along the way has ended up with a pretty decently aggressive curve, great removal, and some big damage finishers like Ariet's Tempting Apple and Hamlet Glutton to just slam in for those last few points of damage. So looks like a pretty solid deck, and I'm excited to see how it does. So without further ado, let's head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1 with a little bit of a slower hand. Doesn't start till turn 3, but we have Belligerent to the ball into the Merry Bards here, which is fine. And if they play any good threats, we've got 2 different removal spells to use as well. Just drawn to another land for now. Our opponent is on blue-red. With the turn 2 hatching plans, excellent with any bargain cards. We find an Evolving Wilds to crack on turn 2. Grab the second green source in case we find a Hamlet Glutton at some point. And our opponent just passes turn with 3 mana up. They could have the bargain counterspell to crack that hatching plans and draw a card. I have no bait for a counterspell though, so we just play our belligerent. The only way to try to bait a counterspell here would be playing a Merry Bards without getting the roll off of it, which would just be very bad in general. Yep, there's the ice out, as is to be expected when you see the hatching plans. Opponent with the good old build your own ancestral recall, now very far ahead in card advantage. Let's get a Merry Bards down with a Young Hero roll on it. And a 6/6 Goose Mother. We are really getting demolished by incredibly high quality cards from our opponent. Hatching Plans already fights well above its pay grade as an uncommon with an incredibly high win rate. Just because in this format it's so easy to make it just 2 mana draw 3. But now the Goose Mother for the phenomenal 6/6 that's going to draw them a card every time it attacks, with flying as well. Do what I can over here, but it is not looking too hot. We did draw our Welcome to Sweet Tooth eventually. That is a very high win rate card of our own, which is nice. But we did draw it way past turn 2, which is when it's actually super impressive. Yeah, there's the stopgap for the Merry Bards. Which means we can't curse the Werefox the Goose Mother next turn. Otherwise, we could have attacked with Merry Bards, made it a 5/4, then put a monster roll onto it to make it a 6/5 and fight the Goose Mother. But our opponent just stopgaps the whole board. Drawing the Torch the Tower here means I can cut in and torch the Goose Mother. 2 for myself to get rid of the 6/6 flyer. At 12 life, even with a food token, I kind of just have to do that. And it's almost like 2.5 for winning myself, because I'm using 2 of my spells to kill the Goose Mother, and I'm not getting my Young Hero roll value because I don't have a creature on board to put it on. And it's almost a 3 for... Actually, yeah, it's more like a 3 for 1, because I also have to give up on Welcome to Sweet Tooth, putting counters on something to do that. Maybe we had to just get domed for 6 again, but I also wanted to take the opportunity while they were tapped out to clear that thing out of here, because they are running counter spells. And they are holding up the double blue that they would need to cast the bargain counterspell here. Yeah, there it is. So that was literally the best line we could have done. Just kill the Goose Mother while we know that they can't counter it. Big yikes. This game, all around. We're at 5 off of this attack. Oof, the Hearth Elemental. At least they're using them when they still have cards in hand. Just a Spell Stutter and a Mountain, but still, they had to discard cards. Ooh, a 1 mana 4/5. Well, that's pretty good. We're down to 3. There's the Hearth Elemental. Transmuter. Redcap Thief blocks there. That's nowhere near enough. Could Thief and fight something? If I thief and fight the red cap thief, then I can block the 4/5 take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, still exact lethal. Alright. Rough one, game one. A really, really good start for our opponent. Just put us really far on the back foot very quickly. Got 3 cards ahead with the hatching plans and then dropped a gigantic goose. Got farther ahead drawing a card off that and bouncing our whole board. So, very, very spicy stuff from our opponent. Means not much we could have done throughout that whole game. We start things off 0-1 heading into game 2. Alright, here we are in game 2. Opponent is on the play. I'm going to keep this hand even though it's mono red, because we do get the flick a coin treasure. And obviously I can cast everything in the hand, since the spells are also mono red in the hand. Opponent goes Forest, Plains, Prophetic Prism. There's Brave the Wilds, immediately turn a forest into a 3/3. Aggressive stuff from our opponent. So I'm gonna need to find... Well, ideally I find some bargain fodder here, and then bargain something away to shoot the forest for 3. But technically I could also just block the forest with Picnic Ruiner and then flick a coin in at the end of the turn after they tap out for something else. And then, depending on how big their combat trick would be to save the forest, we might even be able to torch the tower it. Okay, and it's just no combat trick at all. So just clear out the land there, get our treasure token, and now we just drop an Edgewall pack. Get ourselves a new board state. Our opponent is looking pretty much 5 color over there. Green, white, black, and red available to them now. Nothing to play though. Alright, well, play another Edgewall pack. Could play Merry Bards and hit for 1 more damage this turn. Yeah, this puts just as much power on the board as the Edgewall pack does, where it's 4 power on the board right now. Except this way, 1 of that 4 power is hitting our opponent immediately. Alright, destroy the tapped Edgewall pack. Sure, I can torch my own Edgewall pack to essentially torch the Threadbind click. But I would... If I want to torch the Threadbind click, I'd rather make them spend 3 mana on playing the... Or 4 mana on playing the Threadbind click, and then torch it. Yep, there's the full 5 color. There's the stopgap on the rat. That is gross. We will be playing another Edgewall pack here then. Getting a food from the bakery raid. I think we're still in a pretty good position. Just keep chipping away at our opponent and try to find a tempting apple lethal turn later, which shouldn't be that difficult. It's going to get rid of one of their blockers, give us another attacker, and make them lose an additional 3 damage. Or lose an additional 3 life out of nowhere. Okay, there's the Threadbind. And a Hopeful Vigil. So they're tapped out here, so I think it's pretty reasonable to torch the 2/2 and curse the Threadbind. Although 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, no. Apple is not currently lethal. We'll see if they have the double white board wipe in the 5-color deck. Feels like the only thing that could really save them now. There's a second white source. Stormkeld Vanguard. Alright, I'm sure that's already lethal on board, but might as well play the apple as well and just really make sure. Alright, there is the victory, and we are now 1-1. Here we are for game 3, starting off with a definite mulligan. We have 2 really important cards to play on turn 2, and we do not have the mana to play them on turn 2. So mulligan to 6. And this is much better. I'd love to drag a card to the bottom. There we go. Arena just was not letting me click and drag. Alright. Play the veteran first. It stacks into more damage than the spear guard very quickly. Guess I could play around the rat out and play the spear guard first, because we'd rather have a spear guard get ratted out than a veteran. No, 1/3 body. That is enough of a roadblock that maybe I just put a roll on the spear guard immediately. I think I do. It'll immediately be out of reach of rat out, and then the next time it attacks, it's attacking as a 3/3, which the prankster can't block. Okay. Rat out would still not kill it. They just rat out and block with prankster. So I'll have to spend a different removal spell like a candy grappler or something that could kill anything. Fairy fencing works too. But since they have a fairy on board, they could have done that for like 1 mana. Okay. So unless they kill both of my creatures, they can't counter the Picnic Ruiner. I mean, they could like literally cast a counter spell on it, but one of the issues with adventures that target your creatures is if your opponent kills the creature that you target in response, then your whole adventure and the creature itself fizzles. But this way they'd have to get both of these off the board for this card to fizzle. So I think this is reasonable. And they have nothing. No instant speed stuff. Means we just get our 3 power creatures attacking past the prankster. Great work from the Picnic Ruiner. Obviously it is a little bit awkward to not have a 4 power creature on board for when we cast this Picnic Ruiner. But I think it's worth it to just have multiple creatures big enough to attack into the prankster. And I'm just going to cast a Hamlet Glutton because they didn't have a counterspell last turn. So unless they top decked the counterspell, seems like a perfectly reasonable time to cast a Hamlet Glutton. Oop, there it is. We top deck a land, we can use another Stolen Goodies Adventure and play a Picnic Ruiner. And I guess we'll never know, because our opponent has just conceded, maybe just flooding out over there. But pretty good work done from the Stolen Goodies Adventure. The Picnic Ruiner, just putting +1/+1 counters on the board was really, really nice. Fighting it against a 1/3, getting a rat to be a 3/3, and our 2/3 to be a 3/4. That was just some good work there. We are now 2-1 heading into game 4. I'm going to keep this. It's a little slow, but I am going to keep it. Nothing until turn 3, but great stuff when we get there. Playing against a Boros deck with turn 2 Ash. Could be pretty bad for us, but we drew a 2-drop and now it's about as fast as our deck gets on average. 2-drop turn 2, and then we're just going to curve out every turn from there. No celebration for our opponent. I am very happy to see that. So we're definitely going to cut in Ash next turn. Any benefit to Belligerent over Redcap Thief? If I play Belligerent over Redcap Thief, then if they trigger Celebration, I'm still threatening to block and trade with Ash, which might get them to not attack with Ash. Although I guess I could double block with Grand Ball Guest and 2/3 Redcap Thief anyway. Alright, now we can cut in the Ash or the Belligerent to the ball. Because Belligerent's pretty good too. Let's cut in their Belligerent. Get the young hero roll. If we put it on our Belligerent, we can attack them for 4. And the only way they stop it is by double blocking. But then I have worse blocks against them. If I put it on my Grand Ball Guest and then I attack in with that as a 3/3, they can 1-for-1 trade into it. They just trade Ash into the Guest, which doesn't feel great. This is a little bold, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for the aggro here. I probably should even, if I'm attacking with the Belligerent at this point, I should probably attack with the Grand Ball Guest too. Because if they trigger Celebration, Grand Ball Guest just can't block at all anyway. But they didn't trigger Celebration, so I guess Grand Ball Guest did hold Ash off. So it did a thing. Alright, let's just sing Cut-in's praises today. Just double Cut-in and just send the team in. They are down to 9 now. There's a cooped up for our Belligerent. We're down to 12. But we're definitely winning this race. Especially with Welcome to Sweet Tooth. Giving us a food in the near future as well. Went for the celebration post-combat so that I can get the permanent +1/+1 counter on the guest rather than the temporary +1/+1. So now if I celebrate with the guest later, it attacks as a 5/5. But there's another cooped up on it. Now, Redcap Thief still a pretty good attacker. Send that in. Holding up a Flick a Coin here. With Flick a Coin up, it's reasonable to send the human in too. But I do want to make sure no matter what happens, I have something to put my +1/+1 counters on with Welcome to Sweet Tooth. Alright, that's pretty cool. To trade into an Ash there. Now I get Redcap Thief. Now they would need to use 3 removal spells to stop me from getting the Welcome to Sweet Tooth +1/+1 counters. or 1 instant speed removal spell. I try to put it on something, they Stone Splitter Bolt in response, or Witch Stalker's Frenzy, something like that, Torch the Tower. There is cooped up copy number 3 on the Hollow Scavenger here. They don't have the mana for a Flick a Coin here, so I am going to put the +1s on the 1/1. They could have a Torch the Tower. That would get the 1/1, but not the 2/3, because I'd have to sack a cooped up to kill the 2/3 with a Torch the Tower. If they had 3 mana up where they could have had their own Flick a Coin up to kill a 1/1 in response to me trying to put counters on it, I probably would have just put them on Redcap Thief. Well, this looks pretty good for me. Because that is a lethal coin being flung at their face, and we are now 3-1. Very nice record to start things off. Here we are on the play for game number 5, and we get to start with a turn 1 Gingerbrute and the Merry Bards to put a young hero roll on it later, or the cut-in can do the same as well. Playing against a blue deck here, draw another 4-drop, so we're going to play a Gingerbrute. We're just going to wait till we hit 4 mana. And then we're going to go wild. I have no double red cards in this deck, so I am just going to get the second green in case we draw into a Hamlet Glutton. The way that our hand is curving out here, we're only going to play 1 red spell per turn anyway. Find the Flick a Coin to guarantee that we have 4 mana next turn, but I think I just play a no-value Merry Bards because I have a cut-in to put a young hero roll on the Gingerbrute anyway, and against an empty board state, I should probably just jam out a 3-powered Orc to pressure their life total a bit more. Especially when drawing a land means I'll kill whatever they play as the blocker here and hit them for 5 now. Oh yeah, come on land, fingers crossed. Boom, beautiful, beautiful draw. Get that out of the way and hit for 5. Now Chapter 2 of the Huntsman's Redemption cannot do anything. And Chapter 3 is also not really going to do anything for them either, because they're not going to be in a position to be able to attack aggressively. They're already down to 12. There's a Troyan, which they only have 1 blue mana up, so they just can't block well anyway. So I'm just going to attack in without giving unblockability. And they're just going to take 6, and then I cast an Edge Wall Pack. Very, very cool with how things are going right now. Here's the no-value Huntsman's Redemption trigger. I guess it could have a little bit of value if they have a green fight spell in their hand where they needed Troyan to be bigger to kill one of our creatures, but does not look to be the case. That is going to be 4-1 now, breaking even in gems just about, no matter what happens. But let's keep it going, see if we can't grab a few more wins and get in the money out of this draft. Here we are for game 6. We got that turn 2 Vanguard to get things rolling. Like in the hand, Vanguard into Belligerent is just a nice aggressive start. Then we have the Redcap Thief to guarantee the Celebration trigger for the Menace swing. Grand Ball Guest is the first play from our opponent. Even if they trigger Celebration turn 3, we can still trade Vanguard into it, and I will 100% do that. Trade my 3-1 into what is often going to be a 3-3, especially when my 3-1 can come back later, and we're naturally on the defensive being on the draw. Tons of reasons to take that trade there. Drop the belligerent here, so we have a 3/3 threatening to block their 2/3. So if they don't use removal, just don't get an attack here. Here's another butcher. Is this just going to draw the card? Yeah. Sack the rat. Scry 2, draw a card. Very nice. Just double up the Lord Skitter's butchers. Okay. Spearguard is actually an excellent blocker for Gingerbrute because it has haste. So even if I give this the unblock ability, it can still be blocked by haste creatures like Spearguard. So we probably have to flick a coin at the Spearguard eventually. Should I just do that immediately or just drop the Thief? I think I'm just dropping the Thief here. And we're not attacking with Belligerent because even though I can make it a 4/3 menace, that still gets double blocked by 2 butchers and only kills 1. Or even worse, it gets blocked by a butcher and a 1/1. Actually, no, that's not even worse. The double butcher block is better. Oh lord. Redcap Gutter Dweller, a must-be-killed bomb. You have to have removal for this when it gets played, or you lose the game, and we do not have removal for it. So we need to flick a coin and dig for removal, and cross our fingers. Find a Picnic Ruiner, which is also not removal. I can at least trigger Celebration for a Menace swing, but then they double block with 2 butchers, so that doesn't matter. Can play a Gingerbrute to put the stolen goodies onto, I guess. Desperately trying to race a bit here. But no, this thing is a massive menace creature that also makes sure that they draw 2 cards a turn instead of 1 card a turn, so we just fall very far behind in card advantage very quickly. Oh, the first draw is Shatter the Oath removal. Do they have the second black source for it? If they don't, then they actually missed on a card draw here. They don't have the swamp, main phase 1. Well, there is no chance that they don't have a trick here if they're doing this. They're probably trying to spend 1 removal spell to kill 2 of our creatures, so it's like a candy grapple here to use on one of our 3/3s. Yeah, I mean, unless we think that our opponent would just punt away their card draw engine, we can't block here, and I can't just assume my opponent is doing that. Because they have something instant speed. And most players would never make that attack unless they have the candy grapple to make sure that the Gutter Dweller is just not going to die. Or the torch the tower, or whatever it is. There's the cut-in! Oh, snap. So they did miss on the card draw, and then we found the removal. Is it gonna be enough? Or is their trick in hand something that can save Gutter Dweller rather than just a regular removal spell? Let's see. It's a regular removal spell. Gingerbrute's gonna be dead, which is a little sad. But Gutter Dweller's dead, and that's what's most important. Okay, does a rat out for the Gingerbrute. So I had enough mana. I could have stolen goodies first. But then they would just rat out when I stolen goodies on Gingerbrute anyway. Because I would have put probably 1 counter, 2 counters is how I would have done it. Oh, it's 3 +1/+1 counters. So I would put 1 on the Thief and 2 on the Gingerbrute. And then got there still. Yeah, that resolves. I guess I technically could have eaten the Gingerbrute so that they wouldn't get a rat anymore. That probably would have been worth it. They're at 20 life here. Playing a scavenger this turn versus not playing a creature this turn are not that much different. This game is looking to go pretty long currently. Yeah, I probably should have just eaten the Ginger Brute. So they have one less rat in case they have more Lord Skitter's Butcher style cards. Sack these rats for good value, and most black-red decks do. So Scavenger with a food, I can make it a 5/4. If I put at least one counter on it, I would make it a 6/5. They could kill it with Monstrosity plus Butcher. Oh, and there's a Curse of the Werefox. I don't think I want to dump that immediately. I'm going to Stolen Goodies here. I think I'm putting one counter on everybody. If I put two counters on Scavenger, it is naturally a 5/4, and sacking a food makes it 6 toughness, which they can't kill unless they triple block. I guess we actually make the Scavenger 6 toughness. We do that. And this way, even if the Scavenger dies to removal, we have a Belligerent to the Ball as a 4-power creature left over. Candy Grapple here. Yep. This is chill. Now we drop the Picnic Ruiner, which is a double striker thanks to Belligerent to the Ball. And pass. Now it's one card in our hand to one card in theirs. Kind of balance things out. We are in the top deck war. Have you ever played the card game War with just a traditional pack of cards? That's what we're doing right now. Who's going to draw the royal suits? Who's going to draw the aces? Who's going to draw the ones? Well, not the ones. The 2s, the 3s, and the 4s. Currently, our opponent has started off with an ace. This is another card like the Redcap Gutter Dweller that just makes it so they draw 2 cards a turn every turn. But I can spend my removal spell to kill their enchanted creature so that this doesn't trigger, because it only works when they have an enchanted creature. So I suppose I'm spending my removal spell to kill a rat because of Lord Skitter's Blessing, which doesn't feel ideal, but I can't just let them draw 2 every turn. So let's buff up the Trampler, or not the Trampler, the Double Striker, I think. Uh-oh, they have another instant in hand. If they have a second Candy Grapple, we could have done anything here, because then they just Candy Grapple the Belligerent. If it's a rat out, that's a little annoying, but we still kill the rat, which is important. It's Stone Splitter Bolt. Okay, so I couldn't have done anything about that. Because even if I put this on Belligerent to the Ball, they can Stone Splitter Bolt and sack this rat so that this does twice X, and it does 4 to the Belligerent in response, so... Alright. This is why I hate green removal generally. I do bring it up a lot when I draft green. I'll pass up on Curse of the Werefoxes and stuff because I'm like, well, my secondary color is black, and black removal is just way better because it can't just get got. Yeah, I mean, we got. Not much else to say. This gets double blocked, this gets traded unprofitably. We're just passing turn into an opponent who's drawing twice as many cards as us now because our removal spell to stop Lord Skitter's Blessing got deleted. And there's the draw 3. Discard a card, draw 2, plus play a 4/5. The 3 for 1, not a draw 3, but a 3 for 1. don't think we have any profitable blocks here. I could go ahead and trade the Thief into the Monstrosity, because that Monstrosity is just going to keep getting bigger if I don't trade there. But I don't know if the Spear Guard trade for a rat is worth it. It probably is not. Taking like 9 damage here. We're just dead in like 2 swings. However I want to do this. Guess I'll go for the trade with the rat. Stops 1 damage this turn, 1 damage next. Just kind of cute. Yep, that's 12 power on board. Alright. We definitely lost the top deck war. That is 4-2 heading into game 7. So we have to draw 1 land. If we draw 1 land, we can play Belligerent, and then Curse of the Werefox. So that gives us 3 turns of breathing room until we need to draw the 4th land, and if I don't draw the 4th land, I can still play Merry Bards after playing Belligerent, Curse. It just won't be great. Yeah, I think this is a fine keep. The big choke point here is whether or not we draw land 3 in our first 2 draws. It's about like a 50-50. So 2 coin flips. If you flip a coin twice, what are the odds of hitting heads once? Like 75%. We did not get that. Actually got some of our most expensive cards in the deck, our literal most expensive card, instead. What are the odds of getting tails 4 times? And then getting Imadane's recruitered. Well, Arena decided this one for us. Obviously, could have mulliganed, but... Again, if we hit land 3, we were going Belligerent, then Curse the Werefox, even if we don't hit lands after that. And if we hit land 3 into 4, then we'd have really good plays of Belligerent into Merry Bards to trigger the Belligerent celebration, then a cut-in to have a hero roll on like both our creatures. Even with a great hand, we're getting absolutely mythic uncommoned here by Imadane's Recruiter. Okay, there's no way to survive that at this point. 4-3 it is. Quick loss for the final game. So, solid record overall. We do basically break even on gyms, which is nice. I think that's a reasonable place to be with how the draft itself went. Obviously all of our pack 1 plans really didn't pan out, and that's where our deck became a bit weaker than it could have been. I'm really happy with the choice to pivot into red and take all these good red aggressive cards, but I think I probably got a little too excited about the, pick 5 Hamlet Glutton or something. Overcommitted onto green in pack 1, but I don't know where we should have been 100% in pack 1, where we should have been headed. Maybe it was just sticking to blue there. Maybe we take the that Otter first and then this Prodigy and take some random blue stuff and we become a weird blue-red aggro. But the best red decks are red-white and red-black for the aggro stuff. Red-green's pretty good too, but we just, again, don't have great green. Just not in terms of quantity. The quality is really high. Vanguard, Welcome Sweet Tooth Glutton are incredible. Scavenger's pretty great. Curse is not ideal. Curse is the removal spell. I just like to use it if I'm in green and we can't find other removal. I think we had a small enough amount of removal here to want to run the 1 copy of Curse the Werefox, and most of the time it's super solid. It's perfectly serviceable, but it is so bad. It is such a nightmare scenario when you cast it and your opponent has instant speed removal on your creature, that takes it down a notch for me. Even though that scenario doesn't happen that often, when it does happen, you get hit really hard by it, like we did by our opponent's Stone Splitter Bolt there. That was just the difference between, the difference between having a Curse of the Werefox there or like a cut-in was the difference between our opponent being able to draw 2 cards for the rest of the game. So that is where these green Curse of the Werefox style removal spells really get hindered. And even the uncommon removal spell, the creature you control deals damage equal to its power to another creature, and all your enchanted creatures do the same. If we had that removal spell in this situation, same thing could have happened. So just any green removal basically has this flaw. So I guess that's the biggest underperformer, was the Curse of the Werefox. But the big thing about the draft and the gameplay in general that I think I could have changed, I don't think I could have changed much in the gameplay. Obviously we could have mulliganed the last game, but I don't think it was that greedy of a keep. We just did not draw statistically well, and our opponent had a really gross hand. I mean, even if we had a great opener, they flooded so many creatures out so quickly with the Imidane's Recruiter Balm as well. So I don't think that game was likely to win. And then the other 2 games, I don't think there was anything we could have done gameplay-wise that changes those either. Just got outclassed by some better, balmier decks in general. So the one thing that I really want to think back on and look back on is pack 1 of the draft, which I will do while I'm editing these videos. That's something that I always do, because I edit out a little bit of the dead air, mainly just in between the rounds, but I'll also do a little bit of a post-mortem look back on the draft and try to see where things went wrong, what could have went better, maybe what should we have been drafting pack 1 instead of the green that was not so open, because we bounced around with some splashy stuff pack 1. I think that's also the thing, right? It wasn't just that we were drafting green, it's that we had like splashy stuff too. So it was like Charade and Ingenious Prodigy and like Evolving Wilds and Crystal Grotto and maybe even Candy Trail. Like this was all kinds of slow, weird, different colors of nonsense pack 1. And then the best stuff all just ended up being aggro in pack 2. So maybe there was a decently open, aggressive color in pack 1. Maybe it was just white. I remember there was a Hopeful Vigil somewhere, 1 or 2 that I was kind of excited about, but I never took them. Maybe red-white was the place to be. I don't know for sure. Overall, I think, again, played pretty decently, played about as well as we were given opportunities to, except for maybe the final mulligan. And I'm not that unhappy with how I drafted, even though that is where I think things could have changed the most in terms of changing the outcome. I don't think I drafted particularly terribly, because we did find the very good pivot to red that really helped us grab those 4 victories that we did grab. So happy with that at the very least. But with that whole giant spiel out of the way, that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, where I'm live every Wednesday. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.